My name is Josh Potter. I have a background in journalism, and I currently hold a master's in fine art for creative writing from the University of Washington. One thing it's important to understand when we look at Ireland's history, North Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, their split, is that this happens in westernized and Western cultures. The fact that Ireland violently split apart and fought for its independence and fought with each other, this doesn't just happen to non-Western, non-Christian people. I mean, this was a fight between Catholics and Protestants. The duality between Protestantism and Catholicism was largely invented by British imperialistic interests. So when you have a split screen showing the two, what we're really showing is how that was actually manufactured. One thing you see in the 1910s, because of industrialization, you can also have individual entrepreneurship. So the look we used was this lace ad that we found that I thought captured the idea of a now more urban, more sophisticated Irish populace. So in the 1920s, this is actually it's a really integral time for them. World War I is over, and essentially Britain can return undistracted to the question of what to do with Ireland. They find representatives of the body politic in Ireland and sign the Anglo-Irish Treaty in 1921. So all of a sudden, you get the split between North Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So the look we chose to represent the 1920s in North Ireland was Lady Lavery, or Hazel Lavery. She was the wife of a painter, and the famous image he painted of her was painted around the time that the Anglo-Irish Treaty talks were happening in her and her husband's drawing room, essentially. She's actually an American woman, but lived in Belfast with her husband for a long time, and the image has now made it onto the currency. The look we chose for the 1920s in the Republic of Ireland was a woman named Kate O'Brien, a poet and writer, intellectual suffragette, very important figure, and the look really reflects what would become more and more inflated over time. Her hair is cut short, it has almost more of a mannish look to it, it's parted, it is dark, plastered to her head. I mean, that's like the classic gentleman look, which you wouldn't see in a Protestant woman, because Protestant women at the time were far more, I suppose, traditional. In the 1930s in Ireland, you see a little bit of a silencing in the question of what's going to happen politically. However, World War II is beginning to boil over on the mainland in Europe. The question of what role women are going to play in deciding the future of the island is thrown into high relief. So the look we used was Moyna McGill, who was a famous actress at the time. Still relatively looser hair, more modest appearance, but now you are seeing the modernization of the UK start to hit even the more agrarian parts and rural parts of both the Republic of Ireland and North Ireland. So the look we chose was inspired by a famous painting by a painter named Nils Dardell, who spent some time in Ireland and painted this painting, which he titled simply Irish Woman. And it reflects sort of a modified version of what we got in the previous decade. So you still have women with parted hairdo, but now it's parted in the middle and the hair is a little looser, which reflects the movement of the suffragettes toward the 1930s and 1940s, wanting to be taken seriously, wanting to be looked at as professional and as modest. In the 40s in Ireland, we chose the look of a nurse because North Ireland was involved in World War II because of their lingering connection with the UK. So one thing that's important to remember, and that really kind of informs the future narrative of Belfast and North Ireland, is that Belfast was blitzed the same way that London was during World War II. Belfast was bombed by Germany. Dublin was not. And that really plays a role in who people in Belfast and in Dublin at the time really saw themselves connected to. For the Republic of Ireland, we used Maureen OHara, a very glamorous and arguably stereotypically Irish-looking female. But she was a respected Dublin talent and really reflected how much Dublin was trying at that point to come into its own. So we chose these two looks to put side by side with each other, really to drive home the fact that the Republic of Ireland stayed neutral during World War II, and North Ireland did not. In the 1950s, this is a calm decade for most of the Western world, at least for the Allies. However, in North Ireland, the fruits of the post-World War II economic boom don't really trickle down to the Catholics, because the Protestants are favored by the lingering British colonial powers in Belfast. You start to see prejudice against Catholics in voting rights, housing rights, union rights, labor rights, that sort of thing. And it doesn't really boil over yet, but you definitely get the first rumblings of displeasure among Catholics. We used Ruby Murray, a Belfast-based singer. Very, very 1950s, right? Very almost American Housewife 1950s. In the Republic of Ireland, we used a look inspired by Anne Gunning, who is actually a world-famous supermodel. Her look is actually very similar to someone like Audrey Hepburn. This is important to note because we see the Republic of Ireland entering onto the world stage as a recognized country for the first time following World War II. In the 1960s, you see the type of discomfort echoed in Ireland and North Ireland that you kind of see in the States as well. Civil rights unrest, civil rights protests, except not here for Vietnam, but in both the Republic of Ireland and North Ireland because of the way Catholics perceive themselves being treated in the North and Protestants perceive themselves being treated in the South in Dublin. In North Ireland, we used a look inspired by Bernadette Devlin, who was a very important civil rights activist in Belfast at the time. She gave a series of speeches leading up to 1969, which the last one resulted in the Battle of Boxhide. And the look is really reflective of her place, not necessarily as someone who is looked to for her fashion or her beauty, but for her position as a leader. In Dublin, you see the look kind of reflecting what's going on in London. The woman we chose came from an advertisement where her hair is cropped short, her makeup is definitely a statement piece, and generally you see people around Dublin enjoying a chic, luxurious look.